When you reference a section of law, would it be helpful to know that the section was recently amended? Would you want a quick and efficient way to determine how the section read prior to the change? Does your job ever require you or any of your colleagues to research the historical amendments for a particular law or a group of laws over a period of time? Or do you ever need to refer to older, full-text versions of historical or repealed laws? If you answered yes to any of these questions, Quickscribe's historical tools will help save you time, whether your query is of a simple nature or if it involves a more complex historical research task. This video will provide you with some helpful hints and tips on how to access or find historical laws, including repeal laws, and how to make use of Quickscribe's unique historical research tools for handling some of the more complex historical research tasks. Quickscribe includes full-text versions of historical laws that date back to the early 2000s, but many of the more commonly referred to laws on Quickscribe date back to the revised statutes of '96. In fact, Quickscribe continues to add to its historical collection on an ongoing basis and will even gladly accept client requests to focus our efforts on adding additional historical versions of a particular law that a client has requested. Quickscribe also has plans to eventually focus efforts on producing historical versions dating back to the 1800s for a few key statutes. In the meantime, let's start with some basic navigation tips for finding historical laws on Quickscribe. To browse historical laws, including those that are repealed or spent, you can use the Browse feature on the left navigation. If you select the Acts and Regulations option, you will see a list of full-text historical versions of laws that are still in force today. Simply find the law by title, then select the date you would like to view. As a tip, you can also reference historical versions of a law from the current version of the law itself. This will be covered shortly. This historical law section also includes the place that we house repealed laws that are no longer in force. Remember that these historical versions are fully searchable and include an option to create a clean PDF for you to save to file or print on demand. You can also do a search for the title of the law using the search field at the top. The Bills page also includes access to historical bills that were introduced since 2000, as does our Orders and Council page. Please note that if you are unable to locate an older historical version on our site, just give us a call and we will often be able to dig it up from our internal files and send it to you free of charge within minutes of your request. Both the Historical Bills and OIC page include unique search tools that will allow you to search by title or keyword searches. For example, on this OIC page, I can quickly call up any order that has referenced or falls under the authority of a given act by using the keyword search and typing in the title. You can even sort this by date. For most users, you probably won't use the Browse feature that often, as most simple historical research inquiries are executed from either the dedicated historical research page at the top or from the current version of a law that you are referencing. If you have accessed Quickscribe before, you have likely come across our popular color-coded amendment arrows denoting when and where changes have taken place throughout a given law. By clicking these arrows, you will have the opportunity to view how the section read prior to the latest change. There is also a legend on the toolbar that explains the color coding for these flags, green indicating added, black repealed, etc. Use the View Historical Version of this law feature on the top menu bar to quickly access the law as it read at different points in history. These dates actually represent a point in time when there was a change. We typically save a copy of the law the day before changes take effect, so you can quickly browse to see how many times the law changed over the years. Once you select the historical date of interest, you will notice that we provide information at the top as to how long the law read this way between changes. Good information to know. It's the little things that we've done that will save you time and potential headache. Here's another tip. When referencing any law, you will note at the bottom of every section there is a historical reference which provides you with history of legislative amendments to a particular section dating back to the revised statutes in 1979. These references tell you the date of the change, the bill chapter number, and the section number within the bill. For regulations, the reference will refer to the date and the amending regulation. While this may provide some context on the historical changes for each section, it is not practical for you to go through each and every section one by one to determine the historical activity for the law. There is another tool within the law that draws on this information and provides a convenient summary of legislative history for all the sections within the law. You can find this Legislative History tool on the top menu bar. This page is dynamic in that you can sort by date or section number. Near the top of this page is a legend, which helps to explain what these references mean, a printer-friendly version of this table, and a separate listing of legislative history predating the 96 revisions, which reference changes dating back to the 1979 revised statutes. If you are looking for an easy way to determine what, if any, legislative activity has occurred since you last accessed Quickscribe, select the Recent Changes tab on the main homepage. This tab will list the recent amendments to existing laws and allow you to compare how the text read prior to the change. You can also view a list of repealed laws over the last year. So for most users, the historical tools that I have reviewed thus far will suffice. For those who are sometimes tasked to perform more complex historical research, I suggest visiting the Historical Research page accessible via the top menu. This page provides a summary of the historical features I mentioned thus far, plus access to some of the more powerful historical research tools found on the service. For example, the Amendment Finder is a popular tool that will allow you to quickly and efficiently compile legislative activity to a law or select group of laws over a specified date range. This particular tool will compile amendments dating back to 2004. Simply select the date range, the laws of interest, and display changes. With a few clicks, you will not only be able to view every single legislative amendment or change to the law you selected, but you will also be able to actually view the change by comparing how the section read before and after the change took effect. The status checker is commonly used to check the status of recent legislative activity for a particular law. For example, you can quickly check the status of a bill to determine what, if any, sections of the bill have come into force. In this case, I'm checking the status of the Forest Lands and Natural Resource Operations Statutes Amendment Act 2016, which was introduced in a previous session. I can see that only some sections of the bill have come into law. By selecting the Show Acts Affected button, I can determine what acts this bill amends and whether or not the amendments to these acts have come into law. This information is always kept current, so you can determine exactly what stage the bill is in at any time and how each section of the bill is expected to come into law. Sometimes, while a bill is progressing into law, another bill will come along and further amend this bill. If you select Show Affected Bills, you will see that in this case, the Great Bear Rainforest Forest Management Act bill has subsequently amended this bill. You can go to the amending bill to determine what changes were made and whether or not these changes have come into law. Finally, from this screen, I can even jump to the specific section of the bill that amends the corresponding act so I can view the actual change. As a side note, we continuously update what sections of a bill have come into law at the top of each bill. So in this case, most of the sections of the bill came into force when the bill received royal assent, but these other sections are still waiting for our regulation to bring it into law at some point in the future. When this happens, we will update the status checker and provide updated information at the top of this bill to let you know what sections of the bill are now in force. The example I just showed is from the bill perspective, but you can also do this from the act perspective. Simply clear your search and type in the title of the act that you would like to check the status on. For example, let's say you want to see if there have been any recent or pending changes to the Wildlife Act. You can see that the Act has a number of recent and pending changes. Finally, the BC Legislative Digest offers a very detailed account of all types of recent legislative activity since the Digest was first introduced in 2007. The Digest is accessible on the main historical research page, but also via the left navigation. The BC Legislative Digest was originally built in consultation with Courthouse Libraries BC as an alert service covered in our Alerts video tutorial, but we also decided to build a cumulative historical legislative research tool component as well. The Digest tool is ideal for highlighting all legislative activity over a period of time, including references to amendments, repeals, and bills. You can either create a custom date range or simply select activity for the last 30, 60, or 90 days. So you can see that Quickscribe offers several historical research tools to choose from. Choosing the right tool will really depend on the task at hand.